I awoke in what seemed to be a small, square room, a simple enclosure for the simplest of people. All of that I can see is a chair underneath, a singular beam of light, establishing a dominating presence over the dark chamber of solitude. I have no idea where this room is, or how I got there. An irritating feeling of cliche infects me. Was the same poor attempt of a test? With me having the honor of being the lost soul of need of redemption for my sins? I scoffed at the thought as I hear dripping close to me, low monotonous sound that softly infuriates my eardrum as it hides in my timbrous surroundings. I began searching the room for an exit. The first thing I would have to do is find a wall so that I can find a door. I began walking in the direction in hopes of running into the wall. I walked into darkness, and I shouldn't have done that. Suddenly, I feel an extreme chill. It's colder than I have ever experienced in my life now, and I'm overcome with my alignment of sadness, hopelessness, and depression. I kept on walking, but each step increased my unrelenting agony. I suddenly see a familiar single-lit area and chair. I ran towards it and embraced its warmth. I panted vigorously, as if I have done a session of extreme exercise. I look at the chair next to me, its solid wood texture absorbing the warm light. I think of sitting down onto it, but for some reason, I feel a menacing aurora being expelled from it, as if it doesn't want me to use it. I chuckle to myself, or even beginning to believe that an intimate object had a conscious mind, and that one that liked me either. I still feel tired after entering the darkness, so I decide to lie upon the ground cold and sleep under the light's protective glow. I awoke once more, and to my dismay nothing had changed. The chair that still sat underneath the beam of light, as I sat next to it. Never on that chair, though. Never I would sit on top of the chair. The chair doesn't like me, and I don't like it, and that's how things will stay. As I clean my eyes shut of the mucus that comes from sleep, a sudden realization startles me. I haven't eaten. Since I woke up in this godforsaken room, I have not felt the need for food or needed the drink. It doesn't make sense, but neither does anything else. Why am I here? Who's keeping me here? But the thing that plagues my mind every minute is I spent here. Why is there a chair here? It just sat there, deceivingly inviting, watching my every movement, knowing full well that I don't sit on it. I hated it. I spent the next few hours staring up at the beam of light. It abused me, but it did not come from the light bulb or a hole from what I could see. It simply peered down from above, a beacon of hope in my time of need. I try to be optimistic as I can, but it's difficult for me. I have no family to think of, no lover I can hope to see again. I'm just alone in my life as I am in this room, bar that one disgusting chair. I hated it. I still hear the dripping. No matter what way I turn my head, the dripping always comes from directly behind me, the inciting me to follow it into darkness. I've slept twice since I entered the darkness the last time, and the feeling of cold still lightly grasping me. Shivers were sent down my spine as I began to think about the darkness, that feeling of panic, the lack of oxygen. It was too intense to bear. I can't face it again. I still wonder how the outside weird looks, at how the simplest sight of everyday life for granted, what I would give it to see the morning hustle and bustle of cars again, to smell the nauseating fumes of being released into the air and into my nostrils. A working man's nightmare is now my dream. I let out another chuckle. I began to ponder of what I just did to deserve this fate, being locked away from society and civilization, with nothing but a beam of light and a horrible chair to keep me company. I hate the chair. I was never a bad person. I paid my bills, I worked for my money, and yet I am still doomed into this room of shadows, until eventually heal over and die. I wonder what will happen again. Will even death decide to open its ancient arms and welcome me into his side of fortress of flames? Most people would be scared of the thought of a death and hell, but I'm not. I'm already there. This room is doing something for me. I've slept multiple times, and I still feel no need to eat or drink. Since awakening in this room, I've become immortal, the power sought after by millions. Yet the newfound power is not blessing. No, it's a curse, and that's when I realized it. This room is keeping me alive. It doesn't want me to leave, even when the surrounding mist of darkness. I feel so heavily. It knows the malnourishment would kill me, and thus I would be free. Death is my only escape, and this room that took it away from me. And the chair knew it too. I despised the chair. Something changed. I felt like I'm being watched now. The feeling of being watched is creeping up on me, crawling up my back and spreading throughout my body, tingling within my spine and onto my bones. It is almost too overbearing to ignore, too certain. I looked behind me, but as always there was nothing but pitch black darkness. There were no footsteps. There was no breathing. How could someone be there, watching me, staring at me so intently that I cannot hear from them move the tiniest bit or the smallest breath? It's near impossible. But the feeling never leaves me. The feeling is so certain, so very, very certain. So certain that I close my eyes so tightly that I can only open them wide and simply stare. The only certain I begin to hear is the faintest of many voices whispering in my ears, so incomprehensible languages and inaudible sentences, accompanied by a chilly breath upon my clammy skin. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and I felt a shiver uncontrollably run up my spine. After that came the laughter. All I could hear was a quiet laughter that haunted me, every voice whispering, taunting me, the sound of laughter upon my ear. It breathes upon it so lightly, breathes so subtle that I cannot ignore it. The darkness still surrounds me, and my throat feels dry, but I do not attempt to scream, as it would be futile. This room knows I'm its prisoner, and it's my warden. I wish I could hear the dripping again, and that beautiful sound, but all I can hear are the whispers, the laughter, and my own heartbeat. The noises drove me mad. For days I've sat there alone, hating every second of it. But now it seems these voices inhabited my head, and I couldn't wish for anything better than to be alone again. Just me at the beam of light, and the ever-looming darkness. I tried to make out some of the voices, but so far I've only managed to make out one word, one simple word that echoed from my mind. Sit. Never before I have shuddered the thought of the word before. The voices repeated it over and over again as I stare at the chair I feel so much hatred for, the chair that has mocked me since I awoke here. Hours I stood there, looking at the chair, while the voices continuously tried to convince me to succumb to my whispers. Around me, the darkness still lies dormant, watching me, as if anxiously waiting for my next move. Maybe the voices were trying to save me, and by sitting on the chair, I would be able to escape this room. There seemed to be no other way out. The darkness blocked all angles. What if nothing will happen if I sit on the chair, and the voices were more deceiving than their sick humor? As the old advantage goes, there was only one way to find out. I approached that of which I felt great contempt for, the man-made structure that holds evil within its layers of wood, as I was merely inches away from it, the closest I've ever been. I could feel the aurora of anger and disgust radiating from the lone furnishing. It didn't want me sitting on it, but the voices did. Was the chair protecting me, or were there voices? The questions and their answers flooded my mind as I eventually did the thing. I promised myself that I would never do as long as this room was my abode. I sat upon the chair. At first there was silence. The voices no longer whispered, and the laughing ceased, but my salvation did not come. No exit was uncovered, no light filled the room. I sat there for seconds, aghast as to what has happened, or what didn't happen. The voices had lied to me. I had done their bidding to no avail. I was trapped there with nothing left. I was truly hopeless. It was at that moment that my greatest fear that I had of all this place came to reality. The beam of light started shrinking. Inch by inch, I saw my safe heaven diminish, slowly being eaten by the shade that surrounded it. I knew exactly what would happen when the light ran out. What will the darkness do to me? However horrible darkness made me feel as I invaded it, it would not kill me. It only had the power to make me feel hurt, agonizing, excruciating hurt. But it could not physically damage me, and I knew this. Killing me would allow me to be free from this prison, finally allowing me to rest my mind and soul. But it did not want that. It wanted me to suffer. As the impending darkness grew more and more ever imminent, I couldn't help but feel betrayed. The voices whispered so softly into my ears, posing as a new savior to help me achieve my freedom, and I had deceived worse than anything else that could. The beam of light that protected me from the harrowing darkness now turned its back on me, leaving me to fight alone. And finally, the chair, the bane of my existence and non-forgiving environment, playfully waited until I sat on it, the trigger that would set the darkness upon me. I will forever hate this chair. The darkness is night, and I could no longer see my feet to my knees. This was the end of seclusion. I was about to become one of the darkness, taking one of the place of the beam of light I grew to trust. This was my fate, my undeserving fate, but nevertheless I was doomed to accept it, and I did. I proudly put my head up high, welcoming the darkness into my arms, like an old friend. As darkness engulfed me, taking what was left of my sight, I felt a familiar chill crept onto my skin. My never-ending death had begun. What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.